Sit down. Get comfortable. Tonight, we're going to talk about the lie you tell yourself every day. I'm special. You think you're smarter than average, more self-aware than most people, a better driver, a better friend, more ethical, more rational. You think your experiences are unique, your thoughts are original, your perspective is rare. Statistically, you're wrong about almost everything. You're average, not in a cruel way, not in a dismissive way, but in a mathematical, statistical, undeniable way. Most people are average at most things. That's what average means. But here's the problem. 93% of American drivers think they're above average drivers. Mathematically impossible. 87% of MBA students think they're above average students. Can't be true. Most people think they're more moral, more intelligent, more self-aware, and less biased than the average person. All of them can't be right. This is the illusion of uniqueness, the better-than-average effect, illusory superiority. Your brain has convinced you that you're exceptional, and it's lying. Tonight, we're investigating why you think you're special. We're going to examine the better-than-average effect, why everyone thinks they're above average. Self-serving bias, why you take credit for success but blame circumstances for failure. The uniqueness bias, why you think your thoughts and experiences are rare. The bias blind spot, why you see bias in everyone except yourself. The neuroscience, how your brain protects your self-image. Statistical reality, the math that destroys your illusions. Why this matters, the cost of overconfidence. How to escape, accurate self-assessment. This is Inner Pigment. This is where thinking gets dangerous. Let's confront your ordinariness. The better-than-average effect. The classic study. Ola Svensson, 1981. Are we all less risky and more skillful than our fellow drivers? The study surveyed 161 students in the U.S. and Sweden. Question: how do you rate your driving skill compared to other drivers? Result: 93% of Americans rated themselves as above average drivers. 69% of Swedes rated themselves as above average drivers. Mathematically, if people were accurate, 50% would be above average, 50% below. Reality: everyone thinks they're above average. This is illusory superiority. It's not just driving. Other domains where people rate themselves above average. Intelligence. Survey of 1 million high school students. 70% rated themselves above average in leadership ability. 60% rated themselves in top 10%. 25% rated themselves in the top 1%. Statistically absurd. Workplace performance. 87% of MBA students at Stanford rated themselves above average. 68% of professors rated themselves in the top 25% of teaching ability. 94% of professors rated themselves above average overall ethics. 86% of people think they're more ethical than their peers. 77% think they're better at relationships. 92% think they're funnier than average. Physical attractiveness. Men. 60% rate themselves above average. Women. 50% rate themselves above average. Even when shown photos of themselves versus objectively rated attractive people, most still think they're above average. The Dunning-Kruger effect, revisited. The incompetent are confident. The competent are humble. Justin Kruger and David Dunning, 1999. Tested people on logic, grammar, and humor, then asked them to estimate their performance. Result: Bottom 25% thought they scored in the 61st percentile. Top 25% slightly underestimated themselves. Why? The incompetent don't know what competence looks like. They lack the skill to recognize their own lack of skill. Example: a bad driver doesn't realize they're bad because they don't know what good driving looks like. They think, I haven't crashed yet, so I must be good. Meanwhile, they cut people off, tailgate, and brake erratically. But they don't see it. The Lake Wobegon effect, named after Garrison Keillor's fictional town, where all the women are strong, all the men are good-looking, and all the children are above average. The effect: everyone rates themselves above average on desirable traits and below average on undesirable traits. Survey results: above average on intelligence, kindness, driving, work ethic, humor, attractiveness. Below average on prejudice, selfishness, laziness, arrogance. The pattern is clear. People see themselves through rose-colored glasses. Why it happens? Cognitive mechanisms. 1. Selective comparison. You compare yourself to people worse than you on desirable traits. Example: I'm a good driver compared to that guy who cut me off. You ignore the drivers who are better than you. 2. Definitional flexibility. You define traits in ways that favor yourself. Example: if you drive fast, good driving equals confident, decisive. If you drive slow, good driving equals safe, careful. Both think they're good drivers, but they've defined good differently. 3. Focalism. You're hyper-aware of your own strengths, but only notice others' weaknesses. Example: you remember the times you were generous. You remember the times others were selfish. 4. Self-serving memory. You remember your successes more vividly than your failures, and you remember others' failures more vividly than their successes. Self-serving bias. You take credit, blame circumstances. The fundamental attribution error applied to self. For others, you attribute their behavior to character. They're lazy, they're smart. For yourself, you attribute your behavior to circumstances. I was tired, I had a bad day. But when it's success, you'll flip it. Your success: I'm talented, I worked hard. Character: others' success: they got lucky, had help. Circumstances: classic study. Miller and Ross, 1975. Participants played a game where outcomes were actually random. Result: when they won, I played well, I'm skilled. When they lost, the game was rigged, bad luck. They took credit for success, blamed circumstances for failure, even though both outcomes were random. Self-serving bias in the real world. Relationships: breakup: that was your fault. We grew apart, timing was bad. Breakup: that was their fault. They were toxic, immature, selfish. Work: promoted: I deserved it, I earned it. Passed over. Politics: favoritism: the boss doesn't like me. Sports: won: we played great, we're talented. Lost: refs were biased, bad luck, injuries. Money: rich people think, I worked hard, I'm smart. Poor people think, the system is rigged, bad luck, lack of opportunities. Both are partially true, but people overweight the explanation that favors their self-image. The neuroscience of self-serving bias. fMRI studies. Blackwood et al., 2003. When people explain their own behavior versus others' behavior, different brain regions activate. Explaining your behavior, medial prefrontal cortex activates. Self-referential processing, justification. Explaining others' behavior, temporal poles activate. Theory of mind, social reasoning. Translation: your brain uses different mechanisms to explain yourself versus others. For yourself: justification, context, complexity. For others, simplification, character attribution. This is automatic. You don't choose to do this. Your brain does it for you. The cost of self-serving bias. Why it's a problem. 1. You don't learn from mistakes. If failures are always due to external circumstances, you never fix the internal issues. Example, failed a test? The teacher sucks. Reality, you didn't study enough. 2. You overestimate your abilities. If you attribute success to skill, even when it's luck, you become overconfident. Example, made money in a bull market? I'm a great investor. Reality, everyone made money. You just rode the wave. 3. You damage relationships. If you always take credit and assign blame, people resent you. Example, team project succeeds. I did most of the work. Team project fails. They didn't pull their weight. Everyone on the team is doing the same mental math. Result, conflict. The uniqueness, bias. Your thoughts aren't original. The illusion of unique invulnerability. Survey, Weinstein, 1980, asked college students, compared to your peers, how likely are you to experience the following? Positive events, getting a good job, having a happy marriage. Most rated themselves above average likelihood negative events, getting divorced, having a heart attack, being in a car accident. Most rated themselves below average likelihood. Everyone thinks bad things happen to other people, good things happen to me. Reality, base rates don't care about your self-perception. If 50% of marriages end in divorce, your chance is roughly 50%, not lower, just because you think you're special. The false uniqueness effect. People overestimate how unique their abilities, opinions, and behaviors are. Study, Ross, Green, and House, 1977, asked participants, would you walk around campus wearing a sandwich board sign for 30 minutes? Those who said yes, estimated 62% of people would agree. Those who said no, estimated 33% of people would agree. The pattern, whatever you would do, you think most people would do. Whatever you wouldn't do, you think most people wouldn't do. You think your choices are common, but you also think your abilities are rare. Contradiction, you think most people would make the same choice I made. False consensus effect. But I'm better at making that choice than most people. Better than average effect. Both can't be true. But your brain doesn't care. Your thoughts aren't original. Every thought you think has been thought before. Every problem you face has been faced by billions of people. Every emotion you feel has been felt countless times. You think, no one understands what I'm going through. My situation is unique. This insight is original. Reality. Billions of people have experienced heartbreak, failure, existential dread, love, loss. Your experience is statistically ordinary. Example, you think you're the first person to realize life is meaningless. Schopenhauer, Camus, Nietzsche beat you by centuries. Notice, society is corrupt. Every generation thinks this. Feel misunderstood. Literally, everyone feels this. Your subjective experience feels unique because it's yours. But objectively, it's common. The Spotlight Effect Study, Gilovich, Medvec, and Savitsky, 2000. Participants wore embarrassing T-shirts to a room full of people. Question, what percentage of people noticed your shirt? Participants guessed approximately 50%. Reality, approximately 25%. The spotlight effect, you think people are paying attention to you. They're not. They're thinking about themselves. Everyone is the main character in their own story, which means you're a background character in everyone else's. Main character syndrome. You experience the world from a first-person perspective. Everything happens to you, around you. Result? You think you're the protagonist of reality. But 8 billion people are having the same experience. They're all the main character of their own story. You're an NPC in theirs. This is hard to accept because your subjective experience is so vivid, so immediate. But objectively, you're no more central to reality than anyone else. The bias blind spot. You see it in others, not yourself. The ultimate meta-bias blind spot. The tendency to recognize cognitive biases in others, but not in yourself. Study, Pronin, Lin, and Ross, 2002, showed people a list of cognitive biases. Asked, 1. How much does the average person exhibit these biases? 2. How much do you exhibit these biases? Result. Everyone rated others as more biased than themselves, even after being educated about biases, even after being told about the bias blind spot. People said, yes, I know about the bias blind spot, but I genuinely am less biased than most people. They exhibited the bias blind spot about the bias blind spot. Why it happens. Introspection illusion. You have access to your internal reasoning process. You think, I can see my own thoughts. I know why I believe what I believe. I'm not biased. I just see the truth. But your introspection is unreliable. Study, Nisbet and Wilson, 1977. Telling more than we can know. Participants made choices, for example, which stockings to buy. When asked why they chose a particular pair, they gave confident explanations. Better quality, nicer texture. Reality. Their choices were based on position. People prefer items on the right. They had no idea why they really chose what they chose, but they made up reasons that sounded good. This is confabulation. Your brain invents explanations for your behavior after the fact. Everyone thinks they're the exception. Right now, you're thinking, okay, most people are biased, but I'm unusually self-aware. I've thought about this deeply. I'm not like most people. Statistically, if you're reading/watching this, you're probably more educated than average, more interested in psychology than average, more introspective than average, but that doesn't make you unbiased. It might make you worse. Why? Because intelligence and education make you better at rationalizing. You're not less biased. You're just better at defending your biases with sophisticated arguments. The smart person trap. Again, smart people think, I'm rational. I evaluate evidence. I'm not swayed by emotion. Reality. Smart people are more confident in their biases, not less biased. They use their intelligence to construct elaborate justifications for conclusions they arrived at emotionally. Example, political beliefs. Smart liberals and smart conservatives are both confident they're right. Both have sophisticated arguments. Both are biased. Health beliefs. Smart people believe in homeopathy, anti-vax, fad diets, and they have detailed scientific explanations. Intelligence is a tool. It can be used for truth or rationalization. Most people use it for rationalization. Statistical reality, the math that destroys your illusions. The normal distribution. Most traits follow a normal distribution, bell curve. Intelligence, IQ, height, athletic ability, attractiveness, driving skill, social skills. What a normal distribution means. Approximately 68% of people are within one standard deviation of the mean. Average, approximately 95%, are within 2 standard deviations. Approximately 99.7% are within 3 standard deviations. Translation: most people are average at most things. Only approximately 2.5% are exceptionally good at any given trait. Only approximately 2.5% are exceptionally bad. The rest? Average. You're probably average. Let's do the math. If you're reading this, you're probably IQ 85 to 115. Average range, 68% of population. Height, within a few inches of average for your sex income. Median or below. By definition, 50% are below median. Attractiveness, average. Most people are. Even if you're above average in one thing, you're probably average or below in many others. Example, maybe you're smart, top 10%. But are you also top 10% in social skills, top 10% in physical fitness, top 10% in emotional regulation, top 10% in discipline? Probably not. To be in the top 10% in all of those, probability equals 0.1 times 0.1 times 0.1 times 0.1 equals 0.0001, 0.01%. That's 1 in 10,000. You're probably not that person. The mediocrity principle, Copernican principle in astronomy. Earth is not the center of the universe. We're an average planet around an average star in an average galaxy. Mediocrity principle applied to humans. You are not the center of human experience. You're statistically ordinary. This isn't depressing. It's liberating. Because once you accept your average, you stop comparing yourself to impossible standards. You stop being surprised when you fail. You stop expecting the world to treat you as special. And you can focus on what actually matters, being slightly better than you were yesterday. The exception fallacy. You might think, but some people are exceptional. Einstein, Mozart, Michael Jordan. True, but Einstein, 1 in 7 billion. Mozart, 1 in 10 billion across all of history. Michael Jordan, 1 in 100 million. The probability that you are one of these, essentially 0. Even if you're in the top 1%, that's still 80 million people globally. You're not unique. You're part of a large group of above-average people. Why this matters. The cost of thinking you're special. Overconfidence kills, literally. Driving. People who think they're above-average drivers take more risks. Result, more accidents. Health. People who think they're uniquely invulnerable. Smoke. I won't get cancer. Don't wear seatbelts. I won't crash. Ignore medical advice. I'm healthier than most. Finance. 90% of day traders think they'll beat the market. 95% lose money. Why? Overconfidence. You don't improve. If you think you're already great, why practice? Why get feedback? Why learn? Study. Erlinger et al., 2008, showed students their test scores. Low performers who thought they did well, didn't study for the next test, failed again. Low performers who realized they did poorly, studied harder, improved. Self-awareness equals improvement. Illusion of competence equals stagnation. Relationships suffer if you think you're more ethical than your partner, contributing more to the relationship, more understanding, more patient. Your partner is thinking the same thing. Result? Resentment. I do everything around here. Reality. Both people overestimate their contribution. Study. Ross and Sickeli, 1979. Asked married couples, what percentage of household chores do you do? Average total, 120%. Both people overestimated their contribution. How to escape. Accurate self-assessment. Accept statistical reality. You're average at most things. That's not an insult. That's math. Practice saying, I'm probably average at this. I don't know if I'm good at this. I'm worse than I thought. Seek external feedback. Your self-assessment is unreliable. Ask others, how do you think I did? What could I improve? Am I overestimating myself here? And actually listen. Don't dismiss criticism as they don't understand. Compare yourself to objective standards, not to people worse than you. To benchmarks. Did you achieve your goal? Yes, no. Did you improve from last time? Yes, no. Are you in the top X%? Measure it. Example. Don't ask, am I a good writer compared to my coworkers? Ask, how many people read my work? Do they find it valuable? Embrace the growth mindset. Carol Dweck's research. Fixed mindset. I'm talented or I'm not talented. Growth mindset. I can improve through effort. People with fixed mindsets avoid challenges, might reveal they're not special. People with growth mindsets seek challenges, opportunity to improve. Accepting your average equals adopting growth mindset. If you're average, there's room to improve, and that's exciting. Practice intellectual humility. Socrates. I know that I know nothing. The smarter you are, the more you realize how much you don't know. Practice, I don't know. I could be wrong. That's a good point. So that's the truth. You're not special, not because there's something wrong with you, but because special means rare. And you're not rare. You're one of 8 billion humans, most of whom are average at most things. Your thoughts aren't original. Your experiences aren't unique. Your abilities aren't exceptional. And that's okay, because once you accept your average, you stop needing to prove you're special. You stop being devastated when you fail. You stop expecting the world to recognize your uniqueness. And you can focus on what matters, being slightly better than you were yesterday, not comparing yourself to others, not maintaining an illusion of superiority, just improving, slowly, consistently. The paradox. The people who think they're special stay average because they don't try to improve. The people who accept their average become exceptional because they're always improving. So embrace your ordinariness. It's the first step to becoming extraordinary. This has been Inner Pigment. Thanks for confronting your mediocrity with me tonight. If you want to go deeper, self-perception, cognitive biases, the psychology of self-esteem, let me know. Stay curious, stay humble, and remember, you're not special, and neither am I.